Hi, my name's Amanda, and I am a coach and a trance channel. And welcome back to another episode in my series where I channel my higher self, which are very quickly becoming my favorite to do. And this week is, again, another really fascinating one. My higher self comes forward to talk about past lifetimes and memories where she was a leader in some way and took on a leadership role, both on the earth plane and also on the other side. And by watching this channeled message, you're going to learn a little bit about how leadership qualities are formed over the course of many lifetimes and the difference in leadership qualities between being a leader on earth and being a leader on the other side, and how a soul chooses to take on that role and why. It's so interesting. I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, once again. I am so happy to continue to come forward and share my wisdom with all of you. And today I believe that I will be sharing something that many of you may not have given much thought to before. But the decisions made by you and through you before you choose your incarnation matter, because they dictate the experiences that you are going to have, at least early on in this lifetime. And they set you up for opportunities that you may not otherwise have available to you should you make a different choice. And the reason why some souls choose to take on positions of leadership inside of an incarnation are very specific to what that soul is desiring for themselves inside of it. And the reason why I decided to speak on this particular topic today is because we are heading towards change on this planet that will require many of you to step into a leadership role that you may not have assumed otherwise. And it is not to say that you will be thrust into the spotlight by any means, but there will be those inside of your inner circle who may look to you for guidance and support while they are going through massive change that they are finding to be very uncomfortable and that they have witnessed you going through previously. And so they will desire to have answers where they deem you to possess them. And you do not have to assume a position of leadership or support system if you do not wish to, as every decision made inside of lifetime is yours and yours alone. However, should you decide to be a guide for those who come to you seeking support, you may find this conversation to be enlightening, as it will be the same sort of choices that dictate whether or not you take on this responsibility now as your soul is met with on the other side. When a soul decides that it requires more experience inside of lifetimes on this planet, it must make a variety of decisions in terms of what it wants to get out of the experience, how it desires to feel inside of it, and what scenarios and circumstances it may be presented with that it will be required to navigate through perhaps a lens that was not made available before. And the reason why this is compelling to the soul self is because it will provide an opportunity that is new. And it is this newness that the soul seeks. Because inside of newness are endless possibilities for growth. Because once you have experienced something in a particular way, the only possibility to experience it again in the exact same way as before would be under the circumstance that there is nuance to it. Because it is the nuance that provides a different outlook. And so the soul sits down and says, what do I want to learn? And what will I be required to experience inside of my incarnation that would allow me to learn this? And even if I cannot learn the lesson, what if I can experience the emotional turmoil inside of it so that if I were to come back once more, I can experience something similar through a different vantage point. In this way, have multiple experiences where I can exist inside of them in a new way, and therefore experience myself in a new way. Because it is through experiencing yourself in a new way that you experience change. When a soul chooses an incarnation that will require it to take on a leadership role before it enters its physical body, many things are made clear. Will this soul desire this responsibility or not? How will it feel inside of it? And what choices may it make as a byproduct? And all of these thoughts are taken carefully into consideration before a body is chosen, as it is this body that will dictate some of the thought processes that will determine the answers to those questions. And the purpose is not that it goes to plan. The purpose is simply to witness what it will feel like inside of those choices. Because ultimately, the soul does not have a vested interest inside of any one choice or outcome of it. All the soul seeks is to experience itself inside of both, regardless of how it all turns out. Before coming into this incarnation, I was presented with many options for how I desired to experience myself. And I desired to start off this incarnation from a place of feeling deeply unsatisfied inside of who I was, and never feeling worthy of more than what I was presented with, because I did not have the capacity to ask for what I was not feeling capable of. And so I traversed many years over this incarnation, feeling deeply unsatisfied with what was presented to me, and living through it anyway, because I did not know that I had the potential for more. And this was a lesson that I knew that I wanted to learn, and that was going to require me to question the notion of who and what I was. Because the possibility of anchoring into my true power and potential would only be fully accessed inside of a new awareness of my sense of self. And this new awareness would only be accessed through the potential for a spiritual path where I chose a different one prior. And the reason for this is because I knew that the opportunity inside of the spiritual path would allow me to access consciousness that was not available to me before. And the level of consciousness that would be made available to me would allow me to see myself differently. And without access to that frequency, I would remain stuck where I was. And so I chose a life of duality, a life where I would begin inside of a place of deep pain and suffering. And I would live there for some time as though that was the only reality available to me before consciously choosing something different. And it would be through choosing a different experience of me that I would be able to access a different experience of me. And through accessing a different experience of me, I would be able to offer it to those around me. And through offering it to those around me, I knew that others would begin to look to me for more. What more can she offer me? How can I access the same degree of consciousness that she seems to possess effortlessly? And this would create a sense of unease inside of me because I would know the truth. And the truth is that nobody offered this to me. I sought it out inside of my pain. And I took much of my time to parse through the belief systems that I had and where they were limiting me in ways that I may not have seen before. And it is only through this process of questioning the notion of who and what I am and how and why I'm here that would allow me to open up to my own truth, which is that I am beyond this physical body. And this is simply one experience of many that I am choosing to have at this point in time. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you today is that you may look to me as a leader inside of this community, but that is not entirely true. I am not a leader inside of this community. I am a leader inside of my own desire to find peace and acceptance inside of who I am. And it is only once you can choose to do the same that you will see that the abilities that I have in this space and time are also fully available to you. But it will be up to you to see it that way before you can access them. And it is only once you can see it that way and access them that you will begin to embody the same leadership qualities that you may see reflected back to you through me. And as you embody them and take action in your life in alignment with them, others in your community will see what you see in me inside of you. And this will be a pattern that will unfold for you in the same way it has unfolded for me. And when you can see that every single leader inside of your community that you look up to has simply accessed a deeper sense of self inside of themselves, that you are sensing resonance inside of you. And the only leader that truly exists in every space and time is the one that lives inside of you. And the knowing that you are all that you could ever need, want, and desire for yourself. Because ultimately, what a leader can offer you is a sense of hope that who and where you are right now has the ability to change where you don't fully see it that way yet. And it is only once you can see it inside of you that you recognize that the leaders you have been looking up to no longer resonate for you in the way they once did. And you see the humanity in them where previously you may have seen divinity. And this rise in consciousness inside of you will allow you to access a sense of inner wisdom and sense of self-trust that you have been denying yourself until now. And this is ultimately the path of the leadership role, both on this side of the earth plane and every other. And the reason why, when consciousness rises in frequency and knowing, the role of leader begins to dissipate. Because leadership is not required when each person can access their deepest sense of inner knowing inside of themselves and trust in it in a way they could not before. And when each person on this planet chooses to access their inner knowing rather than look to others who may seem to have it in ways you do not, there will be no need for leadership other than from inside of you. And this is ultimately the rise in consciousness, is realizing that nobody has more wisdom than you do, and that you can trust in you above all else to know what you need and want most, that anything and everything is not only possible for you, but accessible to you anytime you want it. My message for you today is to look in the mirror the next time you desire leadership, because it is only you that can access the truth of who and what you are, and everything you're desiring to learn from those around you is already waiting for you to see and access inside of you. Thank you so much. I love you dearly. One leader to another.